Welcome, gentlemen. Costin here with a discussion about the Empire and one of the best early game armies you can recruit for them. And it's an army like this. It is a great army for field battles, minor settlement battles. It will struggle in sieges, but you do have solutions for that. For instance, the AI does have a tendency of putting an army in a walled settlement and then putting a lord right outside that walled settlement. So you can certainly take advantage of that, attack the lord just outside the settlement, and usually, in many cases, you will get manual battle. The AI won't run. Especially with this kind of army composition, the AI might think it actually has a much better chance of winning the battle, because this army will not necessarily be good in auto-resolve. So you may have to fight a lot of battles manually, but there is, of course, a benefit in having an army that the AI thinks is weak, but in reality is very strong. So over here we have a battle against Vlad von Karstein. This lord that I have rank 14, I've gotten some items, but Vlad is rank 13, and he's got his usual early game army. So he's got Isabella, he's got the Shadows Vampire that he starts with, he's got Graveguard, he's got Blood Knights, Direwolves, and Vargeist, and of course a lot of Skeletal Warriors, Spearmen, and Crypt Ghouls. Now, the only threats that exist in this particular battle are going to be Isabella, the Vampire, as well as the Direwolves, and to an extent the Vargeist. Not so much the Blood Knights. So, let me go into the battle and show how to win this particular in this particular situation. In the battle, I have deployed all the Outriders over here as much as Vanguard deployment allows. I am going to deploy the Imperial Knights, the Witch Hunter, the Captain, the Warrior Priest, all of which are accessible fairly early on in the campaign. I'm going to deploy them right there, as close as I can to the enemy line. I've got the Mortars, the Handgunners, all ready to be deployed in a corner right here. And that's exactly what we're going to do with them. Gonna deploy the great swords like so, and I'm going to ignore that part of the army for a good amount of time because we got other things. I'm actually going to take two different groups of Outriders. Okay, so the concern in this particular battle is Direwolves, Vargeist, Blood Knights. Like, Direwolves are actually very dangerous against Outriders because, one, they're faster than, they're genuinely faster than the Outriders. Two, they can tear them to shreds. So if you engage in a long fight with them, you will end up most likely losing over there. Now, Vlad is of course a danger, but we can tackle that danger. Okay, pull back over there. Alright, let's flank around. Now, we also have Vlad, Isabella. Alright, just deal with those Direwolves right there. Okay. Pull back. You want a cycle charge. Alright, pull back, pull back. We can't let ourselves to be surrounded. And what we really want to do here... Alright, more Direwolves coming in. Empire Knights can win against Direwolves, obviously, very easily. But we just gotta be careful about what we're doing, what tactics we're using, that kind of stuff. Alright. So when it comes to the Blood Knights, you don't want your Imperial Knights to engage in a prolonged fight over there, because obviously that is not going to be ideal. Alright. Vlad and Isabella. Okay. So just focus on Isabella with all we got. We can kill her. Alright, Blood Knights coming in. Freaking direwolves. I'm going to have to engage over here with... Okay. Start getting that Witch Hunter. Now, they're not going to win that particular engagement, but I just need them to keep occupied right there. We are going to have to fall back over here. Keep in mind, okay, so direwolves are gone. Pull back right there. Alright, everyone pull back. I know Isabella's gonna chase me, but I can worry about that later. Once we get into a relatively safe position. Okay. So priority here, killing Isabella. Pay attention to what's going on over there. The reason for that particular flank, if you will, is like you can outrun most of the enemy army, but it's also useful. Like, yeah, their struggling terrain here is not necessarily conducive towards a great deal of success, I gotta say. Alright, pull them back. So most of the enemy fast-moving units, pull back. Most of the enemy fast-moving units, I'm just gonna put these guys in a separate group. Most of them have been eliminated. So that just leaves Isabella. If you've got a flying mount, of course, that's really useful. If not, well, Vlad is coming. Let's kill his wife. Alright, pull these two back. Alright, he's struggling to get some shots off. Vargai's coming in. Pull back. Pull back. We are not ready to engage against Vlad. Alright, now much of the enemy army is engaging over here. Those Vargais are really doing damage. So what we want to do here is come around. So we're faster than the vast majority of the army he has. Now if Vlad comes in this corner, it's you won't have a corner anymore. Alright. Oh well. Everything can go according to plan, can it? Okay. Now the Karburg Greatswords will give their lives gloriously for the Empire, but we want now to just keep running. I might actually just take one of these groups to deal with Isabella. He's struggling, but he's also buying me time. This army does have good replenishment, bear that in mind. Alright, Witch Hunter Well, getting cornered by Vlad is certainly not a fun experience, I imagine. Alright. Yeah, he's dead. That is, that was a bit unfortunate on my part, to be sure. But he is also a very low-level witch hunter. See, witch hunters have one particular purpose in an army like this, like just one. One purpose. To deliver accusations against enemies. Now, it would have been best if I had been able to deliver an accusation on Vlad, undeniably so. Alright, so many of them are breaking. Let's just pull these guys back because they've obviously done their jobs. And just retreat them from the battle. Vargeists are still active. Okay, they're annoying, to be sure. Alright, I just pull back. Alright. Alright, he fled. But now there's effectively no one in that army that can catch up to us. So now we got free reign over here. So like the goal of the flank there, I mean, mind you, this is a brutal battle because it's like Vlad, Isabella. Where's Emmanuel though? I kind of wonder about that. Like, I'm just kind of curious about that kind of situation, really.
Sigmar guides us to war for the twin-tailed comet. Outriders, formation, march! We serve France. We are ready. Cavalry ready. For Heldenhammer.
Yep.
Outriders, take the ground. Our steeds are restless.
There we go. They're finally collapsing.
Fight them.
They certainly will last a good amount of time.
Sir, shoot them. No lingering. Charge. Outriders. For the Warhammer. Get them.
Okay.
Great swords. Sigmar calls. Listen up. Go. Handgunners. Emperor's might.
You gotta give those Vargeists a great deal of freaking credit. They just refuse to freaking die. Now they're dead, finally. The mortars I have are really useful because they won't take friendly fire. Alright. So now, the only threat here is Vlad, but I think if we kill his entire freaking army... he might decide to just crumble. Also, yeah, he does have healing, so we just like... That's the thing about Outriders. You can keep Vlad distracted until he reaches his battle healing cap. So that... Like, he's not particularly fast. If Vlad had a horse, I'm not sure this would be doable, honestly. Okay, so we got more spells. Annoying stuff, really. What? Graveguard, huh? Okay, I guess I should not have been surprised. Oh, this battle is not yet over. Vlad can actually solo the remaining troops. I didn't want to do that. This is ridiculous. Oh, Jesus, that's so fucking stupid. Like, Vlad's healing cap. Oh, jeez. That's so freaking... That's something else, isn't it? That is something else. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Why won't you die? Oh man. Like, yeah, that's the reason I brought the Witch Hunter. Okay, pull back over there. We need to. Don't underestimate Vlad. It might be the last thing you do. Oh my gosh. Come on, kill the bastard. Oh my gosh, the freaking Vlad. Fine. Bastard just refuses to die. Holy shit, that was something else. Unfortunately, my game crashed right as I was leaving the battle, so I didn't even get the save file that I could load. That's annoying. But regardless, let me explain the logic behind this particular army. One of the key things in this army is having a witch hunter, because when you're dealing with someone like Vlad or Isabella or Gremgor, having accusation, which is a very low level ability, but having accusation is so exceptionally useful. Now, of course, witch hunters don't have a mount, so you got to be careful, or you'll get what I got. But once you level them up more, they can get more survivability. Though, bear in mind, there is a particularly useful skill over here with Templar, so vigor loss reduction. But Unbreakable can get you killed, suffice to say. Though you could also go with Way of the Wolf if you want to for stock and snipe. If you want to if you want to have him running around the battlefield, pros and cons with that particular approach. Army general-wise, I recommend going with the General of the Empire. Either that or a Master Engineer. Either way works. There's pros and cons with both approaches. So the Master Engineer does give you more campaign movement range, does give you a Ballistics Instructor for 10% range, Ballistic Calibration, stockpiles. And you can also go with Pigeon Bomb if you so desire. Personally, I do prefer Innovations as opposed to Pigeon Bomb. Not because Pigeon Bomb is weak. No, that's not what I'm saying. I just prefer having this kill line because it's just generally more useful. But a General of the Empire, who was genuinely the worst lore choice, can work quite well with this army. The reason this can work quite well is you get Vigor Loss Reduction, you get Unit Experience with the Drill Instructor, you get 10% speed for cavalry, and speed is important for this kind of army. Everything else is just a side benefit. Now, of course, if you're going to be dueling some people, then yeah, it's useful to potentially get, Imperial training. But at the same time, your lords and heroes in this army are not there to duel enemy lords and heroes. The range units are meant to deal with that. They're here to do a couple of things. One, distract cavalry units or fast-moving units from slaughtering your Outriders. So you don't need Imperial training. Empire Captain, he gets even more movement speed for cavalry, so you can get faster cavalry with admired men at arms as opposed to admired infantrymen. Generally, late game, you might want admired infantrymen, but early game, you're going to benefit more for admired men at arms. Just that charge bonus, upkeep, speed is useful. Witch Hunter, primarily for the accusation, though of course there's other benefits including scavenge, so post-battle loot. Warrior Priest, pretty durable with Shield of Faith, damage resistance, Faith Passion, and eventually Soulfire, and of course replenishment, so that's particularly useful. Or regular engineer, I didn't level him up, so I only lose a level 1 engineer there, but of course it's triangulation. master of ballistics, and increased mobility, and of course, other benefits as well. Now, as for the army itself, the logic behind the recruitment, the logic here, as opposed to just using a full Outrider army or full cavalry army, well, a full cavalry army is going to be awful in sieges. This army is not going to be particularly great in sieges, but it can make it work. So, especially if you attack an army like this just outside of a wall settlement. And this army doesn't have necessarily a really good auto-resolve result because a lot of these are low armor, except Imperial Knights and Greatswords. So the AI is going to be more willing to stand and fight. But the logic behind 2 to 4 melee units, like early on you might have more melee units in this army, like you might have 4, and go with more range units later on, as you get more and more heroes. Like early on, yeah, you'd just start with a Lord, you'd get some Spearmen with shields, Halberdiers, Pistoliers if you really need to, and Outriders, and yeah, Handgunners. Like, Pistoliers are a tier 1 unit, Handgunners are tier 2 unit. Outriders are a tier 2 unit. And Handgunners, like all of these 3 units, get recruited from the same structure. Halberdiers, tier 2, Spearmen with shields, tier 1. So this is like a tier 1. And Caribou Greatswords, or Greatswords in general, are fairly accessible in pretty much every single Imperial campaign. Maybe Volkmar is the exception, but all the same, like, you can get access to either Greatswords or Halberdiers. It's not important to have the best melee units, like, obviously Caribou Greatswords are the best choice. But you can make do with Halberdiers. The purpose of that corner, of this particular corner camping army, like the Handgunners and Caribou Greatswords and the Mortars, well, the Mortars have one particular purpose. They have Siege Attacker. And fighting a campaign without Siege Attacker is not particularly great. If you are attacking a settlement, you want to take it the same turn that you attack it. So that's the purpose of these Mortars. The Electrocount variant is really useful because it doesn't have friendly fire. So that's a really useful benefit there. So when you're fighting in that corner, these guys will be more useful. The purpose of the Handgunners is simply the fact they'll do more damage than Outriders or Pistoliers because there's more entities. They may seemingly have less damage, like when you're just looking at stats, but remember, there's more entities over here. So in reality, they will actually do more damage than these guys. They're also more accurate. So these fellows can do a lot more damage, but you don't necessarily want to build a full handgunner army, because if I had fought that battle with, like, say, a full handgunner melee army in a corner, I would have lost. Simple as that. So these guys are meant to do damage more so towards the end of the battle. They're also a very useful distraction, because what's going to happen, typically, the AI is going to send some troops after your cavalry. They're going to send some troops towards that corner. And when you're in that kind of context, these guys can defeat whatever comes their way, and it removes a lot of the pressure on your Outriders. Sure, you could go with a full Outrider army, but you will be constantly changed throughout the battle, and it's kind of annoying. Purpose of Imperial Knights is to deal with things like Fellbats, Direwolves, enemy cavalry, any fast-moving unit that can catch up to your Outriders, because they will defeat a lot of the weaker ones. They will hold their own against the tougher ones, especially when they're supported by Outriders. Like, they can either win against weak enemies, and you can use your Lord and heroes to distract the tougher ones and use your Outriders to kill them. So that's the purpose of Imperial Knights, 1 or 2 units, and the rest of them Outriders. I prefer Outriders. They have greater range. They do more damage. Outriders versus Pistolier. I'm a bigger fan of Outriders versus Pistolier. Like, they have the same speed, but Outriders do more damage, and they have that armor-piercing benefit. Both of them can fire while moving. And keep in mind, Outriders were changed with the patch. They're much easier to recruit, and they're now actually using repeater handguns. Now, what would you do with this army later on in a campaign, once you have access to it? Well, one of the things you would want to do is get mages. What kind of mage, though? What kind of magic school would you want for this particular army? Well, something like an Amethyst Wizard to debuff enemies, something like a Grey Wizard for debuffs and all that, that's something that is particularly useful. Because, like, you have the damage, but just you need the debuffs for some tougher enemies. Leadership debuffs, armor debuffs, it matches very well with the Witch Hunter. Beyond that, you would replace the handgunners with a combination of Hochland long rifles and no iron sights. The Imperial Knights would be replaced. You could replace them with any of the free cavalry choices. I would recommend Knights of the Blazing Sun or Reichsguard. I personally prefer Knights of the Blazing Sun. They do have that spell resistance. They do have those flaming attacks. They do have more charge bonus. So you're going to be running around in a battle. Like, obviously, Reichsguard are more heavily armored, but yeah, I personally use Knights of the Blazing Sun and eventually, of course, Demigryphs. For the Outriders, like against a lot of early game threats, the Outriders will do very well, but eventually you may just want to replace them and get more handgunners and get artillery. Like, the moment you get cannons reliably in Hellstorms and Hellblasters, you may just abandon them because the artillery that you get, like at tier 4, is quite capable of blasting a lot of foes to pieces. So just bear that in mind, like things like land ships and all that at tier 4, that's when you might abandon the Outriders. But for the early game, for like the first 30, maybe even 40 turns, this army is capable of dealing with all threats. Not the best army for sieges, to be certain. You're going to have some issues with that. Absolutely. But against the myriad of threats that you deal with in a campaign, especially vampire counts, warriors of chaos, all that, these guys are quite good. Costin here signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more.